good morning, and welcome to the Africa Weekly Talk. Today's subject on the docket is Nigeria. And it is Nigeria, especially at the backdrop of the commissioning of the world's biggest single train oil refinery. That was commissioned by the president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, and the Dangote Group about 6 days ago in Lagos. Fellas, this is the world's biggest. I mean, the whole world. I'm not talking about just Africa, the whole wide world. It is the biggest single train crude distillation unit in the world. And it is where? It is in Lagos, Nigeria. It's not in America. It's not in China. It's not in Asia. It's not in Middle East. Or it's not in Saudi Arabia. This is in Nigeria, Lagos. And it is the world's biggest single train oil refinery, which is basically it's a crude distillation unit that the crude is processed within one system. Whereas most distillation units in the world, refineries in the world, they have different CDUs, these crude units, and then they bring them together and then they process and turn this crude into petroleum products and all that stuff. But this one in Lagos, owned by Dangote Group, is a single train one. One huge unit. I mean, it's like a town or towns in Lagos. And no place on earth, on this earth, has that oil refinery distillation unit, except Nigeria. So kudos to the Dangote Group. I mean, this was an $18.5 billion project. $18.5 billion project, which I think has taken about 5 years to complete. And it is officially now online running. And it was just commissioned about 6 days ago. And in attendance were presidents from Senegal, Ghana, I think Niger, Chad, and other dignitaries to witness the history that was made in Nigeria, Lagos, 6 days ago. And Nigerians and all Africans have to be proud of this achievement. And we thank Dangote Group for steering forward with all the adversities that they had to go through, with all the doubts coming from economists, and talking about this was a bad project because looking at where the world is at in terms of fossil fuels, it was not economically a good investment for the Dangote Group, because in the near future, like 30 years or 40 years from now, most of the world will be moving from fossil fuels, and therefore this was a bad investment. I mean, I remember reading this stuff in the Economist magazine as well as the Bloomberg magazine when some oil industry analysts were talking about this. But Dangote knows what he was doing. He didn't give a damn about what they thought, because he understands that with fossil fuels can never be taken away from any country, period. Even America, with all this green stuff going on, fossil fuels will always be part of our energy sources, period. So he moved forward with it. And finally, this thing is complete and it's now operating. Thank Dangote Group for that. And for moving steadfast without listening to all those naysayers and all of that. And that is what we need in African leadership. When you believe in something, you strive for it and you go for it. And this brings about this question that I've been asking myself for some time now. What if all Africans and the continent of Africa and its people and the countries in Africa were just like Nigerians in terms of this can-do attitude, go-get attitude, striving for excellence, striving to achieve to the ultimate with all this enthusiasm, with all this energy when it comes to when they want something. They go for it, regardless of what somebody thinks. So I'm asking this question because if all of Africans in these various African countries were like Nigerians with that mindset, where would Africa be today? Where would Africa be today? I don't know. But I bet you guys, fellas, Africa would be in a very, very better shape than where we are today. I mean, I get it. Some people will say, oh, so what about Nigeria right now? No. I hope you guys understand the point I'm trying to make, or I'm getting to. What I mean by, what if all Africans had the same mindset, this go-get attitude, this can-do attitude, like the Nigerians? What I'm trying to get to is this. Being an African myself, I have Nigerian, I have Ghanaian. And being around and knowing most African countries. If you look at most African countries economically, you go to most of your various African countries, you know your countries, you know it better than I do. And you look at the wealth structure of your various African countries. We all know that most of the wealth in most African countries are held by foreigners. Either they are Lebanese, Arabs, Chinese, Indians. These people come from their various countries and they settle most African countries and they control their wealth. And in essence, in some cases, they even treat these citizens second class. All right? We all know that. You go to South Africa, you go to Kenya, you go to Zimbabwe, you go to Namibia, you go to DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Tanzania. I mean, you can go on. There's one only country in Africa that most of you people will agree with me, that we all know that the wealth in that country is controlled by the people, which are what? Nigerians. You see, one thing about the Nigerians that most people don't understand, and they have this misconception about them, is that they are too aggressive, they are greedy, they like money and all of that stuff. Fellas, there's nothing wrong to like money. Okay? If you want to have a better economic life for yourself and your family, you have to have the edge to like money. That is the only way you can be able to build yourself, to be able to support your family and friends and so on and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for somehow, we have this misconception and we think that they're striving to be successful in life, the greediness in human mind to be successful and build on that to be successful and achieve in life is somehow bad. No, it is not. So there's nothing wrong if Nigerians love money or they are go-getters and they are aggressive about it and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is the only way you can become successful in life, period. I don't care what anybody thinks or what anybody says. I mean, look at it this way. America is a very greedy country. Okay? In a nutshell, capitalism is about greed. And that is why America is the wealthiest country on earth. Because of that. Look at Western Europe. They are all greedy. They're going for what they want. I mean, all the resources that they've stolen from Africa, it wasn't out of greed that they did that. It was out of greed. That's why they stole our resources to go and build their countries in Europe. All right? And then we living in poverty and they're living in wealth. And their citizens enjoying that life and we all moving down there to go to school and build ourselves down there. Whilst our continent is still poor. But we have all the resources down there. I mean, look at a country like Democratic Republic of Congo. Look at a country like Democratic Republic of Congo. This is the wealthiest country on earth, period, in terms of natural resources. There's no natural resources on this planet that you will not find in Democratic Republic of Congo. But look at the citizens of Democratic Republic of Congo. Poor. Poor. Dead poor. Because of bad governance. And not this notion of not having this can-do attitude. So this point I'm making is this. If you look at the Nigerians, you go to Nigeria, Nigerians control their wealth. Yes, there are Chinese investors there, there are Indians there, there are Arabs who come there, people from, different countries come and invest in Nigeria. That is all well and good. But if you look at the top of the mountain in terms of wealth in Nigeria, it's a black man Nigerian sitting at the top. You will find all the very wealthy industries, wealthy businessmen who live in Nigeria, all are Nigerians. The Chinese will come and take their share a little bit. The Arabs will come and get their a little bit. That's all well and good. But at the end of the day, the people who control that wealth are Nigerians. And that is the difference between Nigerians and other African countries. Because you go to most African countries, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, DR, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ghana, Cameroon, Tanzania, Egypt, Ethiopia, name all of them. Name all of them. You go down there, the wealthiest people in that countries are who? Either Arabs, Indians, Chinese, or Oyibo, white people. That's what it is. These are facts. Check it out yourselves. Why is it like that? Why is it like that? Most of these African countries that I just mentioned, all the wealthiest businessmen there, industries, everything in terms of economy and money is controlled by foreigners. Because they don't have that same spiritual concept, okay, that can do attitude, go-getters attitude, strive for excellence attitude that the Nigerians have. That is why it brings back to this question, what if all Africans, economically and culturally, have the same mindset that some Africans despise of the Nigerians? You know, what if they have that same mindset of this go-get, you know, striving for excellence, you know, can do attitude to work hard and be greedy and be successful financially and economically? If all African countries and its citizens, to me, in my personal opinion, had this same Nigerian mindset, I bet you Africa will be totally different. Because first of all, you know what is going to happen? Most of these natural resources that we Africans control will be controlled by the citizens there. Because they will not sit down for some white man or some Arab or some Chinese man to come to their country and come and sit on top of those resources. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. It has never happened in Nigeria. It will never happen in Nigeria. So if other African countries, the citizens there, have that same mindset like Nigerians, fellows, that is what is going to happen. At the end of the day, of course, they can come and invest. There's nothing wrong bringing in foreign investors and all that stuff. That's okay. But the people who will control the wealth, who will build that country's wealth, who will control it economically, will be the natives of these various African countries. Because that Nigerian mindset will not allow them to give all these natural resources and that wealth for some foreigner to come and take over their country's resources. It's not going to happen. And this is the mindset that Nigerians have. Because Nigerians are not going to sit down for some Chinese man to come from China or some Arab to come from Middle East and then come and take their natural resources. Are you kidding me? Nigerian man, it will never happen. Nigerian man will take the resources, you will come, he will make sure he will take more than you will get, and then you will get some, and he will still sit on top of you. Because he wants that resources for himself, more than you. And that is that greedy part people, misconception that people have about Nigerians, that they love money, which is a good thing. That means you are not going to allow somebody to come and dupe you from your resources. You will stand up and fight for your resources and control your resources yourselves. And if you can tell me if that's a bad thing, then I don't know how you think. But me, that is the best thing you can ever have. It's somebody who stands up for what they believe belongs to them. You know, we Africans have been duped for too long. Foreigners have come from colonial times, taking our resources, and we have still poor today in Africa. We have resources, but it's being controlled by all these foreign companies based in Europe, America, Middle East, China, and so on and so forth. You know, like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with that. It's all right to have foreign investors. But at the end of the day, if you, the citizens of your various African countries, control your wealth, control your resources, that also changes the dynamics of developing your country. I mean, today, talking about this Dangote oil refinery. Dangote oil refinery. I know some people say, oh, Dangote came from a wealthy family. Of course, he came from a wealthy family. His great-grandfather, Alhaji Dantata, was a very wealthy businessman in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, back in the day, in the 30s or 40s, he was the wealthiest what do you call it, African under the British colonies. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. He came from that background. But he didn't sit down with that assets that his grandfather had built and just sat down and looked at them and enjoyed them. No. He himself also took another initiative to build on that wealth to become as more successful than his grandfather was. And that is where he has done what he has done for Nigeria today. To be able to build the world's biggest oil refinery, I mean single train oil refinery, crude distillation unit in the world. It's in Africa. That is not a small achievement, fellows. I mean, this is a big deal. This is a big deal because this facility is supposed to process about what 650,000 barrels a day. Process 650,000 barrels of crude a day. This thing will turn around the economy of Nigeria. There's no doubt and dispute about it. And it cost about $18.5 billion. $18.5 billion. This man, with the Nigerian spirit, he didn't deter him. It didn't deter him. Decided to move forward, strive on, and invested in this facility. And today, this facility is ready and operating in Lagos, Nigeria. And look at the number of jobs that this thing is going to create outside of the oil refinery plant itself, the secondary jobs that will come out of businesses dealing with them and all that stuff. And it's not just going to be for Nigeria. It's going to spread all the way up to all of West Africa and Africa as a whole. Because now you can have Africans who will come from different places to come and work as engineers and all that stuff, chemists and all that stuff in this facility. You know, so kudos to Dangote industry. But at the end of the day, like I stated earlier, if all African countries had the same can-do attitude, go-get attitude, like these Nigerians have, I bet you fellas, all our natural resources, gold, diamonds, oil, everything that's sitting down there on our soil, under our soil in Africa, will be controlled by our citizens. Will be controlled by our citizens, and therefore that will enable us to build wealth and also to use that wealth to create this kind of development. So if that is the mindset that Africans have, or if Africans have that mindset that Nigerians have, I mean, I can understand people will be saying, oh, what are you talking about? You know, well, I don't want to be a Nigerian. I don't want to have that Nigerian attitude. You know, there are criminals in this and then fraud and all that stuff. Fellows, I don't buy into that negative narrative. Okay? I don't buy into it. I don't buy into it. As far as you have that can-do attitude, go get strive. Because look, every 1 out of 4 African is a Nigerian. So definitely Nigeria is the most populous African country. It's the biggest African country with the biggest economy. So you hear about Nigeria more than you hear about any other African country. That you go all over the world, there's a Nigerian everywhere. And I bet you there's a Nigerian child in every African country that I'm speaking of today. There's a Nigerian child there. So definitely you hear more about Nigerians. And there's been this negative narrative that people will say, oh, you know, because they are internet fraudsters and all that nonsense. So I don't want to be associated with, you know, this concept of if we're all Nigerian and all that stuff. No. Don't take it that way. I'm not trying to say that we other African countries don't have the same sheer motivation and all that stuff that the Nigerians have. All I'm saying is that if they have that same go-get attitude, mindset, the ability to project for the top of everything. Because look, when a Nigerian man wants something, whether he's a Nigerian doctor or engineer, architect, businessman, musician, whatever you talk, I mean, even the criminal, even if he's a Nigerian criminal, he always wants to make sure he's at the top of his game. And that is the mindset I'm talking about, fellas. I mean, even when he's a Nigerian criminal, he wants to make sure that he's the one on top of the game. And that is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what I'm saying. If we Africans had the same Nigerian mindset in all African countries? I bet you, because at the end of the day, we are a mineral-rich resource continent. And out of that, when we control our resources, we can put that resources into development within our continent. But when you have these foreigners, Indians, Chinese, white people from Europe and Arabs coming in and taking control of your economic systems in your various African countries, no matter what they put in your system, most of it goes back to their various countries. But look at Nigeria. 3 out of 6 wealthiest Africans in the world today, billionaires, Dangote, Rabiu, and Adenuga. 3 out of 6 wealthiest people in Africa are Nigerians. It's not by accident. It's not by accident. Because of this spirit that exists in Nigerian people. And this is not just in Nigeria. They do it all over the world. You go all over the world, when a Nigerian man settles down there, you will notice whether he's doing genuine business or he's doing fake business. You will see. They don't shy away from who they are. And that, the one thing about Nigerians are that they are very proud people. Very, very proud people. And no matter what you think about them, they don't give a damn about you. They focus on what they want to achieve and they strive for it. I mean, I've seen it around here. You've seen it in Europe, if you live in Europe. You've seen it in Asia, wherever you live. And even the citizens in those various countries will tell you that there's something they admire about Nigerians, and that is that can do and go get attitude that the Nigerians have. They will tell you that. And you see it in every field in America. You go to every field in America, almost all the top fields in America, every African or black person you see there is a Nigerian sitting there. And there's a reason for that. It's because of that culture, that attitude that they have to go get it and strive for it. And that is where today, Dangote is able to prove to the world, with all those naysayers and all that stuff, he's able to prove to the world that, look, Africa is ready. And Africa is ready to take the lead. And he has been able to build the biggest single train crude distillation unit in the world. No country ever has that. So fellas, kudos to Dangote Group. God bless you guys and have a great week. If it's Sunday, it's the African Weekly Talk. Thank you and peace and love.